I want you to stand up for just a moment. Go ahead. I'll wait. Now tell me something. Did you feel that tiny wobble the moment your feet took your full weight? That split second where your body had to negotiate with gravity before deciding whether you were stable? Maybe you reached for the chair. Maybe your knees felt uncertain. Maybe the room shifted so slightly you almost ignored it. That sensation is not something I want you to dismiss. Because what most people call just getting older can sometimes be your body sending a biochemical distress signal. A signal that one specific mineral may be running dangerously low. And here's what makes this more concerning. Balance loss rarely begins dramatically. It begins in whispers. A hesitation getting out of bed. A strange unsteadiness brushing your teeth. That awkward moment stepping onto a curb that used to feel effortless. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why this happens, the mineral your muscles and nervous system may be starving for, and the simple at-home sign that tells you whether your balance problem is far more than simple aging. Because if what you just felt when you stood up seemed familiar, you need to stay with me. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, swinging your legs off the bed, standing up, and not having to pause to steady yourself. No reaching for the nightstand. No waiting for that strange internal sway to settle. Just confidence. Immediate, natural confidence. Imagine walking across your kitchen carrying a cup of coffee without that subtle calculation your brain has quietly been making for months. The one that asks, am I steady enough for this? Imagine stepping off a curb, climbing stairs, turning quickly when someone calls your name, and never once wondering whether your body will cooperate. That is not fantasy. That is physiology. Because balance is not some mysterious gift that disappears with age for no reason. It is a measurable biological function driven by communication between your muscles, your nerves, your inner ear, and the mineral chemistry that keeps those systems firing with precision. When that chemistry begins to fail, your body starts compensating in ways you barely notice at first. Shorter steps, slower turns, a wider stance, holding on to countertops, avoiding walking in the dark, choosing elevators instead of stairs, not because you consciously decided to, but because your body already knows something is off. And here is the hopeful part. If the real issue is the deficiency I'm about to show you, this is not your body breaking down. This is your body asking for a missing raw material. Some people notice the first signs reversing within days of correcting the problem. Stronger footing, less leg heaviness, faster muscle response, clearer coordination. But before I tell you exactly what that mineral is, you need to understand why your balance system becomes so vulnerable in the first place. Because once you see the mechanism, what's happening inside your body will suddenly make perfect sense. Here is where most people make the exact mistake that keeps this problem getting worse. They assume that if they are already eating foods that contain the mineral I'm about to reveal, they must be protected. Spinach, nuts, seeds, whole grains, maybe even a supplement sitting in the kitchen cabinet right now. But what if I told you that a huge percentage of people doing exactly that are absorbing far less than they think? This is where everything changes. Because after 60, absorption is often the real story, not intake. Your digestive system does not process nutrients the way it did decades ago. Stomach acid changes. Medication use changes. Gut efficiency changes. And even the way you prepare certain foods can lock this mineral away before your body ever gets access to it. Take nuts and seeds. They look like nutritional powerhouses on paper, and technically they are. but many are packed with compounds called phytates, natural chemical binders that can trap essential minerals and carry them straight through your digestive tract and used. So you eat the healthy snack. You feel like you are doing the right thing. Meanwhile, your nerves, muscles, and balance system may still be operating half-starved. And supplements, another trap. The cheapest forms often have terrible bioavailability, meaning what's printed on the bottle and what your cells actually receive are two very different numbers. That is why some people say, "I tried supplements and nothing happened." It may not be because the mineral failed. It may be because the delivery system failed. And now that you understand that, I'm finally going to reveal the exact mineral at the center of this balance breakdown, because once you hear what it does inside your nervous system, your symptoms will make immediate sense. Now let me explain this the way I explain it to patients and research audiences, because once you understand the biology, the symptom becomes obvious. The mineral at the center of this is magnesium. And after 60, magnesium depletion can create the exact kind of instability people casually label as just aging, when in reality the nervous system is losing one of its most critical control elements. I have spent years reviewing neurological and age-related nutrition research, and one pattern appears again and again. When magnesium levels decline, balance does not fail because of one isolated problem. It fails because multiple systems begin breaking down at the same time. First, nerve conduction. Your nervous system runs on electrical signaling. Magnesium helps regulate how those signals fire between nerves and muscles. When levels drop, signals become erratic. Muscles may contract too late, too weakly, or at the wrong moment entirely. That split-second delay is all it takes to turn stable footing into a stumble. Second, muscle control. Magnesium is essential for proper muscle relaxation after contraction. Without enough of it, muscles become tight, unpredictable, or poorly coordinated. That is why some people with low magnesium notice calf tightness, nighttime cramps, trembling, or that strange sensation that their legs do not fully trust the floor beneath them. Third, inner ear equilibrium. Your vestibular system, the balance center inside your inner ear, depends on stable mineral chemistry for precise signaling between your brain and body. Disturb that chemistry, and spatial awareness becomes unreliable. You may feel lightheaded, off-center, or subtly disconnected from movement. And here is what matters most. These failures do not usually arrive one at a time. They stack. A slightly slower nerve response plus tighter muscles plus disrupted equilibrium does not feel like a dramatic disease event. It feels like, I'm just not as steady as I used to be. That assumption is exactly why magnesium-related balance decline gets missed for so long. But now that you know the mechanism, the next part becomes critical, because I'm going to show you the ranked sources that actually restore the system effectively, and most people start with the wrong one. Now we get to the part that actually matters, because not all magnesium sources are created equal. Some look impressive on a nutrition label and do almost nothing for the exact balance problem we are talking about. Others work, but only if you use the right form. So let me rank them from least useful to most effective. Number 6, spinach. Yes, spinach contains magnesium. On paper, it looks like a hero. But here is the catch. Spinach is loaded with oxalates, natural compounds that bind magnesium and reduce absorption dramatically. You can eat a giant bowl and still deliver far less usable magnesium than you think. Good supporting food. Weak correction strategy. Number 5, almonds. Better than spinach because the magnesium density is solid, but absorption still gets challenged by phytates. If you're relying on dry roasted almonds as your main magnesium strategy while already experiencing shaky balance, you're probably moving too slowly. Helpful maintenance tool, not a recovery tool. Number 4, pumpkin seeds. Now we're getting serious. Pumpkin seeds carry substantially more magnesium per serving, and when soaked properly, absorption improves significantly. Some people notice reduced cramping and improved muscle calmness within days. But here is the limitation. Food-based correction can still be inconsistent if deficiency is already significant. Number 3, magnesium oxide. This is where many people make an expensive mistake. It is cheap. It is everywhere. And the number on the label looks impressive. But magnesium oxide has notoriously poor absorption. In plain English, much of it passes straight through you. Big promise. Weak delivery. Number 2, magnesium citrate. Now we are in clinically meaningful territory. Better absorption. Faster correction. Stronger effect on muscle function and neuromuscular signaling. Many people feel the difference here. But I have not put this at number 1 for a reason. Because while citrate is effective, the final option goes even further for the exact kind of instability, nerve delay, and coordination breakdown we have been talking about. I have saved the most important one for last. And when you understand why this form behaves so differently, you will immediately see why nothing else on this list compares. Number 1, magnesium glycinate. This is the form that consistently stands out when the real goal is nervous system stability, muscle control, and restoring the kind of smooth neuromuscular coordination your balance depends on every second you are standing. Here is why. Magnesium glycinate is magnesium bound to glycine, an amino acid your nervous system already recognizes and uses. That changes everything. Because instead of fighting its way inefficiently through digestion like cheaper forms, this version is absorbed far more efficiently and tolerated far more comfortably. But absorption is only part of the story. Glycine itself plays a calming role in nervous system signaling. So now you are not just delivering magnesium. You are delivering it in a form that supports the exact communication pathways balance depends on. Think about what that means. Faster signal timing between brain and muscle. Better muscle relaxation after contraction. Less neuromuscular misfiring. More stable coordination under movement. This is why people who switch from poorly absorbed forms often describe something very specific. Not some dramatic miracle. Something more believable. They say they feel steadier, less twitchy, less cramp-prone, more physically reliable. And here is the mistake almost everybody makes. They buy the right compound once, take it inconsistently for 3 days, and conclude it didn't work. But if magnesium depletion has been building quietly for months or years, correction is a biological process, not a light switch. The typical protocol most people use is evening dosing, because magnesium glycinate's calming profile often makes nighttime the easiest fit for consistency. And now you know the ranking. But here is something even more powerful than choosing the right form. Because when the number 1 item is paired with a number 2 item correctly, the effect becomes noticeably stronger than either alone. That is where the real strategy begins. Now here is where this becomes genuinely interesting, because the strongest results often do not come from a single intervention. They come from synergy. Magnesium glycinate at number 1 and magnesium citrate at number 2 create a combination that, for many people, feels noticeably more effective than relying on either one alone. Here is why. Magnesium glycinate excels at nervous system stability, neuromuscular signaling, and muscle coordination. That makes it exceptional for the exact shaky when standing problem we are talking about. But magnesium citrate brings something different to the table. Faster systemic availability and broader support for correcting depleted magnesium stores more aggressively. Think of it this way. Magnesium citrate helps refill the reservoir. Magnesium glycinate helps deliver calm, precise control where balance actually lives. One restores supply. The other improves performance. Together, they create a stronger biological response. A simple protocol many people use looks like this. Magnesium citrate earlier in the day, when broader systemic replenishment can begin working across the body, then magnesium glycinate in the evening, where its calming neuromuscular profile fits naturally into nighttime recovery. That combination often creates a progression people can actually feel. First, fewer cramps or muscle tightness. Then less twitching or leg restlessness. Then the more meaningful changes. Cleaner standing transitions. Faster postural correction. Greater confidence when turning, climbing stairs, or getting out of bed. And this matters because balance is not built by one organ. It is built by systems working together. Muscles, nerves, reflexes, coordination, recovery. Supporting multiple angles at once makes physiological sense. But I already know what some viewers are thinking. If this makes so much sense, why hasn't my doctor ever mentioned it? That question deserves a direct answer, because the next section explains exactly why this conversation so often never happens in the first place. Now let's address the question I know some people are already asking. If magnesium can matter this much for balance, coordination, and neuromuscular control, why has no doctor ever sat me down and explained this? The answer is not as dramatic as some people think, but it matters. Most physicians are trained extensively in diagnosis, acute intervention, pharmaceuticals, and disease management. That is exactly what you want when you're dealing with emergencies, infections, trauma, or serious medical events. But detailed nutritional biochemistry, especially how specific nutrient forms behave differently inside aging physiology, often receives far less attention in conventional training. That is not a criticism. It is a curriculum reality. If someone walks into a clinic complaining of dizziness, weakness, unstable standing, or poor balance, the immediate medical priorities are often serious exclusions. Stroke, inner ear pathology, cardiac rhythm issues, medication side effects, neurological disease, and rightly so. Those must be ruled out. But once those dramatic causes are excluded, many people get told some version of the same phrase. You're getting older. And that is where the conversation often ends far too early. Because functional nutrient depletion does not scream the way acute disease does. It whispers. It creates subtle instability, delayed reflexes, muscle irritability, restless sleep, unexplained cramping, and that vague sense that your body feels less reliable than it used to. That kind of slow physiological erosion can easily fall between the cracks of modern medicine. So I'm not telling you your doctor is wrong. I am telling you there may be a layer of the picture that simply was never fully explored. And before we go further, I want to know something from you. Because what happens next depends heavily on age, and I read these responses very carefully. Before we finish, I want to ask you something specific because this problem changes dramatically depending on where you are in life, and I genuinely pay attention to these patterns. How old are you right now? And compared to just 2 years ago, Do you feel stronger or less stable when you stand up quickly, turn suddenly, or walk across a room in low light? Write your age and one phrase in the comments. Stronger or less stable? Because a 55-year-old with occasional shakiness may be dealing with a very different physiological picture than someone who is 72, managing multiple medications, waking with leg cramps, and noticing that standing from bed feels strangely uncertain. And there is something powerful about seeing that this is not happening in isolation. Thousands of people quietly normalize balance decline because they assume it is just what aging looks like. They stop asking questions. They start adapting without realizing it. Holding counters, taking stairs more carefully, pausing before walking, avoiding sudden movement. That quiet adaptation is exactly what concerns me. So be honest. If you have ever reached for furniture after standing, felt that strange internal sway, or caught yourself moving differently than you used to, I want to know. Because when I see enough people in the same age band reporting the same pattern, it tells me something important about what this audience is experiencing in real time. And if your answer is less stable, then what you have learned today may be more relevant than you realized when you first clicked this video. Here is what I do not want you to do. Do not hear this, nod, and tell yourself you will think about it next month. Do not wait until the next near fall in the bathroom. Do not wait until that strange wobble becomes the day you miss the chair, catch the counter too late, or find yourself explaining to a doctor how it happened so fast. Because balance decline rarely feels urgent until the moment it becomes catastrophic. If magnesium depletion is part of your story, your body does not benefit from awareness alone. It benefits from correction. Start today, not next week. Consistency matters far more than perfection. If your physician says magnesium is appropriate for your situation, the real variable is repetition, because depleted systems rebuild through steady input, not occasional effort. And here is what many people report as the timeline. In the first several days, reduced cramping, less muscle irritability, calmer legs at night. Within a couple of weeks, smoother standing transitions, cleaner coordination, less hesitation when changing position. Over the following weeks, what matters most? Restored trust in your own movement. That is the real outcome. Not just more magnesium, confidence, stability, independence. Your body is not asking for miracles. It is asking for the raw materials required to function correctly. If this conversation helped you connect symptoms that never made sense before, share it with someone who has started holding furniture when they stand, someone who says they feel a little off balance lately, or someone who blames everything on age without ever asking why. And if you are committing to taking your balance seriously, write standing strong in the comments. Because the moment you stop accepting unexplained decline as normal is the moment something starts to change.